Hi guys! Hello and welcome to Up the Record podcast. My name is Rejoice Nathan and I am your host. You're welcome to episode 10, and in this episode we're going to talk about the problem with being sure. Sounds intriguing, right? I know. Okay, so before we go right into it, I want to take a moment to appreciate you. Thank you for engaging on our post. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the love, the support. I see everything we do. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, guys. Okay, let's just move into it, right? Um, I want to take a moment to speak about being sure first, what it means to be sure before we go into what the problem with being sure is. Being certain, that kind of a thing. But we want to talk about the danger of being certain. Yes, the danger of certainty. We are not trying to tamper on confidence. We're not trying to see. We're not trying to dismiss clarity, right? We're looking at that part of sure that has to do with being rigid, locked in, having no room for updates, kind of sure. Being strict, like some people would say. I think this already gives out what we are trying to go into, but I'll just take a few minutes to. I'll just take some few minutes to break down what I think the problem with having that mentality is. Okay, so we know that being sure is um is a great and powerful thing, right? Because it makes you sound assertive. It makes you sound assertive, right? Yeah, I think so. It makes you sound convincing, right? You don't wobble, you don't hesitate, you're sure you know what you're doing, you're confident. In fact, there's this level of confidence that one can exude that makes people to believe what you're saying, even if what you're saying is not true. We're not trying to tamper on all of that. It's beautiful when we are sure, it's beautiful when we are certain, right? We have that confidence. It's something I really, really, really admire. But we live in a life where things happen. We live in a life where um, we can't even predict. How sure can we be to predict? One of the very amazing um, um, places of verse in the Bible talked about the rich man who had, gathered, filled his barns with, you know, food, livestock. He has gathered everything. He has food. He has drinks. He's rich. He has everything. And it went on to say that God said to that man that night, "You fool, I need your soul tonight." I mean, since I was little, that verse of the Bible really, 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 really um raises my curiosity, because why does it look like when someone it doesn't always look like, but why is it that someone who has, of course, gathered, he's sure about tomorrow, he sounds like he's sure about tomorrow. Isn't that what life isn't that what we are all pursuing? Isn't that what life is supposed to be all about? Planning, setting up. For instance, the beginning of the year, you have to have your plans, you have to have your goals, even in business, what you want. When we make when we create and write down goals, we were taught to make it smart, that has been specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound, right? So what that is supposed to prepare us for, is it not is it not supposed to prepare us for a future where we are certain that this is going to happen? So when we set realistic goals, we know that, okay, if I add 1 plus 1, it's definitely going to give us 2. But ladies and gentlemen, we live in a life here. We live in a life where things change, right? And sounding too sure might be you being arrogant in a way though, right? Sounding too sure about how things would be, how what your principles are, your do's and don'ts, what you can accept and what you can't accept, right? The kind of parent you would want to be, the kind of um, boss you would love to be, the kind of adult or individual friend, whoever you would want to be. Sometimes experiences push us into making certain decisions. So, for instance, someone who has been under a toxic boss can make the decision that, this my boss, this, that. Whenever I get to this stage in my life, I would never do this. I would never do that. I would never speak condescending of my staff or employees. I would, pay salaries on time and all of that. Even when it comes to parenting, sometimes some of the things that we've experienced growing up, we tend to make decisions in light of, okay, when I get to this stage, this is what I would do, this is how I want it to be. We notice that sometimes when people even get to that point, they overdo it so much that, it now becomes bad, right? But let's not deviate. Let's talk about how life can mess up all of these certainties. So the kind of sure we are talking about is the kind of sure that is futuristic, the kind of sure that, is in terms of planning our life and, how things should be and how things shouldn't be, right? And life is beautiful, like I would always say. Life be humble you. We have no experience um, we have no experience in the life that we are going to live in the future. None at all. We only have the gift of people who has been through that path before and who can tell us, who can advise us or help guide us in what to do or how to go about it. But what we do not talk about is that everybody's life is different. People have life is too unique, so unique that people make mistake of generalizing things. I don't know, but personally I don't like to generalize. Life is so unique. It's true that some things have the ability to repeat itself if followed in the same format, but then again there are cases where it depends. There are unique cases, and I don't like to take that out of the picture that there are unique cases, right? Um, Responsibilities, money, opportunities, um, experiences, exposure, level of exposure. A lot of things can happen to humble or to make up the future experiences of an individual, right? We can't always be sure about what tomorrow will bring. We can't always be sure about how would relate. I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this was um I I recently was thinking about I can't really remember exactly what it was, but it was a case of when I get to this point I won't do this, right? Or yes, it's about judging people. It's about judging people. We human beings, we are very, very fast. We are very, very swift to um judging people, to saying, oh, why would she do that? I would wait until you get to that. You might never even get to the person's shoe, but hold on until life offers you a similar kind of situation. You don't know. Most of the time we don't know what we can do until we are face to face in situations where we are so confused, where we are helpless, where there seems to be no other option but to become what we have sworn that would never become or do. And this is not an excuse to do things that goes against our principles or none of that. No, no, no. That's not where I'm going, right? What I'm trying to say is life is so unique that we can't be too sure. I promise you, we can't be too sure even about our principles. I made a post on my status one time about, you know, getting attracted to guys that braid their hairs. And then I said something about how guys who braid their hair um attracts me at this point of my life is making me question, because how much I used to hate, I used to despise, let me not use the word hate, I used to despise that when I was much younger. And then growing up, it kind of seems really attractive, it's sweet, it's lovely. I love it. And then it made me question some of the things that at this point of my life I despise. Yeah, because I've tried to ask myself how did I get to a point where the things that I did not um I didn't really fancy becomes something I fancy at this point. And I don't want to go into the answers I got in my head. Okay, let me just say one. One of the answers I got was um the teachings I had at that time and the environments that I was in, right? Those things have a way to shape our perspective at the time. But exposure does a whole lot on us as individuals. Yeah, that's correct. We've talked a lot about being sure, like it's too much intro already. I'll just try to point out, I wrote them down, the problems of being sure. I'm just going to list them out and say something little about it, and then that'll be all for today, guys. So first off, certainty or being sure is powerful, but life is ever evolving. That's one problem. Life being ever evolving and not waiting for anyone. Life moves very fast, so fast that we as human beings, we are constantly, on a daily basis, trying to catch up with life. Trends shifts. What was trending a few years back isn't trending now, and even has the possibility, like the potential to trend in the later future. Right. So I was in church, I think last Sunday, and we had the honor of hosting Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, lovely woman, and then she was trying to explain something, and then she mentioned that back in the days she came from a middle class family, right? And then she went ahead to talk about how her father studied abroad. And then the whole church went wild, like, your father studied abroad and you say you're middle class? That's not middle class, man. Right? It was a whole lot of, raw, and people, she was confused. People were, going against the fact that if you or any member of a family studied abroad, you're not from middle class. And that is the reality of now, because yeah, she went ahead to, after she realized what was happening, she went ahead to really explain that back in the days, studying abroad doesn't mean that you are from a rich family, right? You just need to have the ambition and willingness to travel abroad. Like you could travel abroad and study without even needing a visa, without a visa. But it's not the same for now. I mentioned that, or I highlighted that, is because I'm trying to point out that times change, and it changes so fast that if you are not catching up with it, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be left behind, I promise you. See, age, they say, is just numbers, but age comes with a lot of things, a lot of exposure, experience. Age is time. Age comes with responsibilities that you have carried at some point. Age comes with experiences you've had at some point. Age comes with, societal, the mentality in the society at different phases, at different points. The thing is, life is in phases, and we ought to move according to each phase that comes. And there are times when, you know, based on people you have, the support you have, family, friends, um, opportunities, did I say, environment where you live, the community, the resources available to you, the money, economy, and none of all that, right, shapes who you are at the time. And there are times when maybe moving on, some of those things are no longer there. For instance, someone who used to, live in a small community, in a small town where everybody loved and looked out for each other, suddenly travels abroad where it feels like you're alone. Traveling abroad is necessary because you have to, of course, pursue your own life, build your career, and build the life of your dreams, right? But then you get abroad and you realize that it is not the way it used to be back in the days, back from where you're coming from. Right here, everybody's on their own. There's no family, there's no community, there's no. If you, I don't know how it works there, but let's say you leave your stuff outside and go and maybe forget it, or nobody's getting in your clothes for you when it's raining. Nobody is bringing in your stuff for you when you forget it, or try all those things. It feels like culture changes. Culture, of course, is different in different locations and different times. And because we are moving, we tend to change our environments from time to time, right? What I'm trying to say is that we move according to the phases of our life. And being too sure or being sure can freeze you in a version of yourself that needs less information, or more information. Being too sure can keep you at a point where you are supposed to have exceeded at a time, right? It can keep you down, and that's that. Number 2, people struggle with phases, almost tying in what we said earlier about life evolving and life coming in phases. If you're too sure and too certain, there is a high possibility of you struggling with those phases and times when it comes. To be flexible, because phases of life require us to be flexible, right? And being too sure can resist flexibility. And sometimes, I don't know if it's fear of what people would see, what people would say, or how people would view us. Because of course, people would call it being inconsistent or whatever. That's from the outside. But from the inside, we know that it is where we are at this point in our life. It is what life has thrown at us. It is our current reality, right? And okay, let me make a very relatable instance. Someone once said that children experience their parents differently, right? I think that also speaks to the belief that parents spoil their last borns, because of course at the beginning phase of marriage, when it's just firstborn, there is no one else. It's just husband and wife who love each other, who has less responsibility, right? Planning their future, they are so optimistic, and even probably the economy is better at that time. And you know that the phases of life also mean that sometimes you are very, very rich, you have money, and sometimes it looks like maybe business is struggling, or you are trying to make certain investments, so one or two things are shaking. I promise you that the first, second child is going to experience the version of the parents that are very optimistic. I'm not saying they're not going to be optimistic later in life, but things are going the way planned and all of that. And economy would change, things will happen later on. And then the children that are, let's say for instance, those parents have a lot of money at that phase, and then later in life probably there are some investments that did not really go well, or there are some investment that they have made that it would yield them profit in the future, but for now they have to endure the pain of making those investments. The children that come at that time, at that phases in life, will experience a different kind of parents with different kind of mentality, with different kind of exposure and all of that, and then like that until the last baby, and then maybe even the grandchildren. That's why people say stuff like how strict their parents used to be when they had them and how soft they are with the grandchildren now is different. And yeah, that's just life, and there's nothing we can do about it. And see, if we are too addicted to being too certain, too sure, too rigid and strict, growth to feel like a contradiction. And I say that because to feel like growth comes with a lot of updates. Growth comes with a lot of changes, a lot of sacrifices. Yes, sacrifices. It comes with a lot of adjusting things, right, to fit into the phases where we are. And are those things that comes with contradictions to like being rigid or being too strict? How long can you keep up a principle? I think we should go against our principles, but I'm just trying to say that we should be open. Third one, certainty makes everything black and white. When you're too sure, life seems neat. Life seems spotless. But in reality, life is not. Life is not spotless. There are a lot of things we don't know about that may come at any time. Nobody knows tomorrow, yes. We don't want to operate life from a point of you're either right or wrong, you're either strong or weak, you're either disciplined or unserious, you're either successful or you're lazy. No. There are cases where it depends, right? Life would throw up things at people, and if you get to that point of maturity, you begin to understand, or you begin to use that word, it depends. It depends on where you are, it depends on who you're dealing with, it depends on the economy, it depends on money, it depends on health, it depends on exposure, experience, it depends on it depends on what you're pursuing at the time. Because sometimes we will sacrifice certain things for what we are pursuing at the time, right? Life all depends, and we'll definitely get to that point where we would use more phrases like it depends, right? And when we get to that point, we will judge people less. We will punish ourselves less. Yeah, so people do punish themselves for being flexible. The fourth one, third one. Okay, fourth one. Curiosity. Certainty kills curiosity. When you're sure, you're going to stop asking why. You're going to stop listening. You're going to stop asking questions. You're going to stop updating, adjusting. Certainty kills curiosity. You're not open to something new. You're not open to, this is the way they used to do it in our days. This is the reason why businesses go out. People go out of businesses. Businesses fade. Businesses go out of trend because they are sticking to the way they used to do it from time immemorial. They are sticking to the way they used to things. People that stick to the way they used to do it in their forefathers' time struggle a lot. You're not open to something new. You're not trying to adjust with the time and age. Of course, we'll adjust also to accommodate our personality and our beliefs and all of that. But we should always be open and flexible. Growth is basically a series of updates. Yeah? You got an admission, you went into school. Schooling life is totally different on its own. Gather the experiences from school, and now you are out of school. You're now a graduate. What's next? Looking for a job, getting married, starting a business, whatever that you want to do. People are not actually stuck. They're just being too strict. Just being too. There's something like being too principled. Yes, there's something like being too principled. One is not supposed to be too principled. Yes, being principled will keep you in the course, keep you in the line, keep you focused on what you want to get until you get it. Yes, but at the expense of what? Keep you focused on what you want to get until you get it. Yes, but at the expense of what? You're going to be focused. You get things done exactly the way you want it to be done. Yes, but at what expense? Maturity, real maturity, isn't knowing too much. Real maturity is understanding that life is an open book and anything can be written or wiped away. Yes, anything can happen at any time. And if we pursue life from that point of anything can happen at any time, it will be easier for us to be open and flexible. I'm not saying we should be confused or unstable. I'm just saying we should be open and flexible. Have your principles, but at the side of your principles, find a way to add the phrase of it depends. A way to add the phrase of mercy. Alright, that'll be that for today. We've already spoken a lot. And we're gonna see some other time next week, I promise. And until then, see you. Bye.